All right, guys, so what we're going to do today, we need to get these old crusty oil lines out of here. So we're going to go ahead and remove this engine damper right here. We want to replace those. And also I want to get the engine mount out, and all of that helps with getting the oil cooler lines fished through there. So let's go ahead and get this 10 millimeter off. And there's a little flat spot on here. You can put a wrench to hold the shock still while you turn the bottom nut here. Okay, so to get that to hold the shock still, I have a little set of these wrenches I bought years ago, and let's see what size it is. It is 9/32. Not sure what that is in metric, but there you go. You can hold that around the shaft of the shock. There's a little flat spot, and then you can turn that nut. There we go. So we got that off, and see this old crusty bushing here. We want to get that out of there. But now we can remove the top of the shock, and I don't know if you guys can see that. So right up on the top, this top mount, there's two, I think 8 or 10 millimeter nuts that need to be pulled out, and then that will be loose, and this whole assembly can slide out. Okay, here we go. We removed this old nasty shock, and here's the two. These are 10 millimeter nuts that mount from the top. And there you go. Once you get I usually get a wrench, something like this, that you can get up there and then bend around like that to undo it. Once you get those out, then you can replace these parts. And this shock, as crusty as it looks, this thing was still working. Yeah, that one's still working, but we're going to go ahead and replace that with these new ones we're going to put in there. Nice. So let's get the one off on the driver's side now. This is the passenger side. That's the easy one to get off. Here we go. Here's the piece we're removing now on the driver's side. And if you look closely, there you go. You can access the outer bolt right here. So see my hand touching it right there? You can access that from above, because that one's hard to get from underneath. And there we go. We're going to get this one off from the top. And I got the other side off from down underneath. All right, and now we have, I'll go under there and show you guys how to remove it in a second. You can just slide it, all right, up through there, like so. Then pull it out through the bottom. There we go. So we'll clean off that surface, and now we have this old nasty engine shock out of there. So now that allows us, we can lift the engine and then remove the engine mounts. Because see, the engine mount is here. We've already got the bolt out of the arm that connects to the engine mounting arm. So we can actually lift the engine now by putting one of these stands right here on a board underneath it. And then we can jack up the engine, and then that gives us clearance to not only remove the old original engine mount down in here, but then we can also fish out the oil cooler lines. And so we'll install new engine mount, new oil cooler lines, new engine shocks. Okay, got the right socket on here, and you can see right here I have a little 1/4 inch socket, and that's a number 6 Allen, because those are little Allen bolts that hold the engine mount to the frame. This is the easiest one to get out here. It's a little trickier on the other side of the car. And I'll show you once we get this one out. So that's what we were just getting out. That little bolt there requires a number 6 Allen to get it out. Now, there's one on the outside and one on the inside. Same goes for over here. on the outside and inside. So we can get the ones on the outside out, and then we're going to lift the engine a little bit from the oil pan, and then we're going to work on getting the insides out, and then we can get these nasty old parts out of here. Okay, now I'm on the top on the driver's side, and we're removing the small Allen. You can access it by going straight down through here with some extensions and removing the small Allen that holds in the engine mount. So we've got the two outbound or outboard Allens removed. All right, there we go. And there's that guy right there, that crusty old bolt. We're putting in a bunch of fresh new bolts in there. Now we got to do the inboard small bolts, and we're going to lift the engine a little bit off the mounts in order to get access to those. Now, before we lift the engine to get access to the little to the engine mounts and the little nuts down here, we want to disconnect the little clip right here on the throttle linkage. That way this throttle linkage is not connected to the engine and it doesn't bend it. So I'm also going to pop this linkage loose right here. Okay, there we go. We got that linkage disconnected, and see how that can now freely just kind of lay there as we lift up the engine. Here's the little clip that I just popped loose. So now let's get a board under the oil pan and we'll lift up the engine. Okay, now we have our telescoping jack under the oil pan. We're going to lift the engine. So we're going to go ahead and get that up a little higher, and then that gives us access to get the inbound bolt right there to remove that and then remove the engine mount. There we go, to this inbound bolt right here to get this old engine mount out of here. Okay, once we have it up high enough, that allows us to get access to this little shield. There we go. That goes over the engine mount. This protects diesel from dripping on it, and that's all crusty. So we're going to clean that up in the parts washer before we install it on the new engine mount. And there we go. We now, you can see up here, see the pressure has been removed. See that torn engine mount there? But the pressure has been, there we go, relieved from the engine mount. You can see that mount right there is no longer touching the engine mount. So now we can get access to remove that bolt and get the old engine mount out. Okay, now I've got my socket on there, and we can see these oil cooler lines are loose already, but there we go. We can slowly get this bolt out, and then there we go, guys. I think we're out. Bam. Now let's pull this engine mount out of here. All right, that's what we were getting out. And look at that old, see how that engine mount is totally toast? The mount has completely rotted and deteriorated. That's just, you know, from years of just sitting, it rotted. That's why we're changing all this stuff. Now you can see there's see the clearance we have now, and that allows us to get these oil cooler lines out easier. First, I'm going to go ahead and clean it off up here really good before we put back in our new engine mount. Now that that engine mount is out, we have some room to snake these lines through here. There we go. We can snake that line. Whoops, there's still some oil in there. Stripped it all over my hand. We can snake that line right through the back. There we go. There we go. Okay guys, that was a mess, but we have the oil cooler lines out of the car. There's the lower one, and there's the upper one. So let's go look at our new lines that we're going to put in there. Let's see here. Yeah, so This is the 126 bottom line. Hey Thomas, let's see the part number. There we go. 126 top line. So there we go. Here's our new 126 top line and our new 126 bottom line. We even still have some cadmium plating on this one. You can see there's still some there and around the fittings. Looks like on the on this one it's worn off a little here, but those are brand new. So let's go ahead and get those beautiful lines back in the car. All right guys, to get this upper oil cooler line back in, see it's going up around here. The clearance is just, there we go, here it is right here. I've got it sort of in, but it just makes contact with everything back here. So just to make things quicker, I'm going to remove, there we go, I'm going to just remove the engine mount arm. And once we have that off, we can remove that arm, and then there's plenty of clearance for the oil cooler line to go in here. So let me go ahead and get these 17mm nuts off. There we go, and out of the way, there we go. There's our engine mount arm. Might as well clean that up while we have it off. But now we have tons of clearance up here to get this oil cooler line in. There we go. Get that up there. Boom. There we go. We now have that line in the car. Now we need to go ahead and put our lower line in there. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and tighten the nut, which is here. I'll slide it down there. We'll go ahead and reattach it. Okay, we have our oil filter, our oil cooler line attached to the oil filter housing, and it's running back here in the correct location right here. Now let's go ahead and put our lower oil cooler line in here. Okay, and you guys can barely see where the lower oil cooler line connects. See my finger in here? It connects right there. So we'll go ahead and feed it up through the car now. There we go. And there we go, guys. Those are back in there. Brand new oil cooler lines. So let's go ahead and put our brackets back in here. We'll lower the car. Well, first we want to put some engine mounts in there so we can lower the engine back onto the new mounts. And then we'll go up top, tighten the oil cooler lines, get the oil cooler in and all that. Here you can see them back here too. There's our new oil cooler lines. Very nice. Okay, you can see we got our engine mount arm back on, and we have our re-cadmium plated little bracket here, and our upper and lower oil cooler lines reinstalled. Now I just have to tighten down that little bolt right there to hold that bracket in place, and then we're going to put our engine mount in. Okay, today I got some new engine mounts. These are Limforder, made in Turkey. These are the good ones. This is the good brand. You don't want to get Phoebe or any of the other brands. This is an excellent engine mount. Use it on all the cars. See if we can compare it to two of these nasty. I think I already threw the old ones away. But you can see that is a lot taller and it's not all chewed up like the other one. So we're going to go ahead and we will set this engine mount right up in here. Here we go. We just want to get it placed, and then we have to put our screws back through this side and that side to hold it in place, and then we can lower the engine down. So okay, y'all can see our engine mount up there, and I just put a little anti-seize on the bolt, and we just got to we're going to put it through the hole and then just feel for where it goes into the frame. All right, we got that loosely in there. Now we're going to go ahead and put the other side in. And I think I can get the other side from coming around the back here. There we go. Once you have one in, it's easy to find the other one. Now we want to clean off, this is the protective plate that goes up and over the engine mount. I think it actually goes in this direction. And it keeps, the point of this is to keep diesel from dripping on the engine mount from the pre-filter that's up there when you change your pre-filter. So we'll go ahead and clean this up in the parts washer and then put this back up there. All right, we've got our protective plate cleaned up. And we've got it back in the right spot. Yep. All right, let's go over and tackle the other side now. All right, so we have the other side engine mount out. I just wanted to show you a comparison. There we go. There's the old flattened engine mount. There's the new one. See how much taller the new mount is? It's not flattened and worn out. So let's go ahead and get this one up in there. Okay, so we can see where the mount goes. Go ahead and stick our new mount up there. Oh, there we go. There's the hole right there. Try to get this one started. There we go. We got that one started. All right, now let's get the other one. All right, hopefully you guys can see around me here. Just stick it through there like that. Oops. There it goes. It's easy once you get one in. You can feel the other one much easier. There we go. Got the other one going in there. Okay, now what we want to do, we want to lower down the engine and then look through our holes to make sure the engine holes line up with the engine mount. Let me get my flashlight here. Okay, so we're sitting a little bit back. So I'm going to get a little crowbar and do a little magic up here and push forward a little bit as I lower. We'll get these holes lined up. This is what I'm looking at right in here. There's the hole where the bolt goes. You can see it's slightly back just a little bit. Yep, right there. So we want to get those lined up before we can put our engine mount bolts back in. All right, before we put our engine mounts back in permanently, before we tighten them down, we want to put in our new engine shocks. And these you can see genuine Mercedes 116-240-0017. These things are expensive. I think they were like $100 each. But you want the genuine Mercedes because they come with, there we go, new bushings and new hardware. So we'll set that there. We'll cut this guy open. Now we want to get our shocks and go ahead and install these in here and slip them in before we lower the engine all the way down. All right, to assemble our engine shock, you want the long part facing down. This part doesn't move. This is the shock that actuates. So we want to put that up in there. And Mercedes gives you, let's open this up. Okay, so take the washer, put it on the top, and then we just mount that on there. One of the bushings goes, let's see, how's that go? Yeah, goes in like that. And then we can install this in the car. And then the other bushing will go up underneath like that and pinch around the frame and take that lock nut on it. And all right, guys, this might be tough to see, but we're going to go ahead. I'm going to stick this up through here and mount it from the top down. There we go. And there we go. And now we want to get our screws and get them started from the top. And I always like to use a little Loctite. There we go, because they're dissimilar metals. So let's go around here, see if we can get one started. I'll zoom in, see what we're doing. There we go, you can see there's the threads there, and this is the side we just got started. We have the new shock damper mount in, and the shock, it got our top bushing and it's in the hole, so when we lower the engine we can get our bottom bushing in. Let's go ahead and go to the other side. All right, now we have the passenger side in, got everything tightened down, and we're going to go ahead and lower the engine and see if we can get our engine bolts, our engine mount bolts back into the engine mounts. So you got to go right up into that hole right up in there. All right, guys, with a little persuasion from the crowbar, for example, I'll put it right there on the AC compressor mount and just pry it a little bit. We have that hole is lined up. Sorry if you guys couldn't see that, but trust me, it's lined up. And then this hole's lined up. You see that yellowy substance in there? That is the original Cosmoline from the factory where they sprayed inside the frame. So that's where there's no rust on this vehicle, because there's Cosmoline all up in there. So let's go ahead and get our bolts up in there now. All right, here is our engine mount bolts. You can see they're excellent condition, and you always want to put a little anti-seize on them before putting them back up in the engine. It doesn't take much of this stuff, guys. See, I just dab it on there. Just brush it on there. And it works into the threads. There you go. That's plenty. And that'll keep them from seizing in there, because they're steel and the mounts are aluminum. And when you have dissimilar metals, you'll get corrosion. So that's how you stop that from ever happening. So let's go ahead and get these back up in there. And we're just going to get it started by hand. Because you definitely don't ever want to strip these. All right. And we'll get this started by hand. This side started way easier. There we go. All right, you can see our engine mount here. And we're going to go ahead and now we're going to finish lowering the engine back onto the mounts. There we go. Now the engine is back on its own weight again, and it is sitting much better in the chassis because those mounts are not worn out. So what we have to do now is do the final torque on these, torque them to spec, and then we need to come around and we can see there's our engine shock right there. You can see now it is all the way through the hole, and we can finish putting in. Oh, this one didn't quite go through the hole, so I have to push that up a little bit and shimmy it over to go through the hole. See how it's pressing down on top of it? So let me go ahead and do that. All right, good. Now we can put a nut on this one and then pull down on the nut. Hey, Thomas. Pull down on the nut to make sure the shock is fully extended. There we go. There we go. There we go. Now we can get the bottoms of these shocks back on. So let's go ahead and do that on this side. And you just push that up there like that. Then we got to try to get that nut started. And then we'll put our little wrench right here and hold it still while we torque that down. And you just want to get it snug, guys. You don't need to crank it down with all your might. Just basically until the bushings compress a little. There we go. That's what you want right there. Actually, I think that's a little too much. I'm going to back that off. There we go. I like that. Those bushings look good. Let me look at the one on the top. Yeah, see how they compressed just a little? I actually want to back that one off just a little bit more. There we go. There we go. I like that. All right, now let's go do the other side. Now we'll go ahead and get the lock nut started. There we go. I like how that's compressed right there. We'll do it maybe a couple more turns. But they're compressed and snug. That's how you want it. That way they won't break with use. All right, guys, so there we go. Oil cooler lines, engine mounts, engine shocks, engine shock mounts. Really, really nice. All right, let's go ahead and lower the car down, and we're going to put in our refinished old stock oil cooler and get our lines connected. And then we're going to tighten the lines onto the oil filter housing. All right, guys, I've been saving this one for the special project, and this is an original Bear oil cooler, and this is definitely the special project. So let's go ahead and get that dropped in here. Now, look at that. Perfect fit. I'm going to put a little anti-seize on here. They're notorious for seizing. So we're going to go ahead and get a little anti-seize on here. Just brush it on our threads. And there we go. Go ahead and start that one. And that goes on so smooth. Now let me go underneath and get the one below. All right, I've got a little anti-seize on our bottom threads. And let's go ahead and get this started. Okay, let's go ahead. Here's the bracket that holds the oil cooler in place. Let's see. This slides on like that, and then we put it here. All right, got that in there. Now let's go ahead and we'll tighten our upper oil cooler line. There we go. All right, I'm going to make an adjustment on the bottom line there. All right, now we want to reattach our throttle linkage. So we'll put that back through there. We'll put our little clip back on here. And we'll put that one back on. Perfect. Man, look how beautiful that linkage looks. All right, that's all sorted out. Now we want to get right down in here, and we want to retighten these oil cooler lines to the air filter, the oil filter housing. So first I'm going to take the top one off, tighten the bottom one, and then put the top one back on and tighten it. Now we have one, see that little hole right there? We have one bracket. Here we go, here's our bracket right here that we need to put back down here. See if I can get a hand in there while I'm recording. Let's come around from the back side. There we go. So that bracket goes right there, and it holds the front of the lines in place. And we have the bracket down under the car that we put back on. There's our new engine mount with our protective plate over the top of it, and our fresh oil cooler lines. Look how nice that looks. All right, so let me go ahead and get the, I think that's a 10 millimeter, and we'll go ahead and get that tightened. All right, we have our bracket. See if you can see it down here. There we go. There's our nice bracket right there, holding the lines in. And we have one more bracket to tighten down, which is right there. I've already got it started. Once we get all that one tightened, we are done. Bracket is all tightened. Oil cooler lines are in. Guys, that is a lot of work. Everything you saw in this video, if you took that to a shop, would cost you thousands of dollars. Very few people actually have this type of service done on the vehicles, but it's definitely something you want to do, and hopefully in this video you've learned how to do it. So let's go ahead and get some oil in here, and we'll prime the system. You know, crank it just with the battery without it starting. Get some oil back up in the system, then we'll fire it up, and we are done servicing the oil pan, oil cooler lines, all that kind of stuff. So we'll get it fired up here in a second. Okay, so let's go ahead and get fresh oil and filter in here, and fire this guy up. All right, we got some oil in there. Also poured some down in the filter housing. Let's go ahead and get this guy back in here. There we go. Guys, you don't put much force on those when you torque them down. It only takes like 10 foot-pounds. All right, we'll go ahead and let this settle. We'll check our oil, and we'll fire this thing up. All right, while that oil is settling, I want to go ahead and get our air filter in here. Man makes good filters. They fit a little tight, but these are good. Hank's is also good, and they fit a little better. Man's a little tight, but they're excellent filters. I'll show you what I mean. So when you push it in there, actually that one went in there pretty well, but yeah, it's a little snug down there at the bottom. There we go. Also, I want to get this old battery out of here. I don't know how long this thing's been in here, but I know that's probably not the best view, but I'm just getting this battery out. These things are so heavy. Jeez. All right. Okay, I've cleaned up under the battery tray. Got all the leaves and debris under there. It looks fantastic. There's no rust at all. Everything is rock solid back here. The metal is all very good. And here we have our refinished battery tray. Looks fantastic. And I went ahead and refinished the battery hold down brackets too. So it looks fantastic. Let's go ahead and get these in the car. All right, we have our refinished battery tray installed. Looks absolutely beautiful. Let's go ahead and get the battery in. All right, we got the new battery installed. Looks beautiful. 900 cold crank amps. That should do it. So let's reconnect this and get it fired up. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing fired up. Glow plugs are on. Here we go. Boom. Good oil pressure. Perfect idle. We'll let that circulate for a second and then check our oil. Look how smooth that engine is, guys. No leaks. From our new oil cooler fittings. Here we go. Look how smooth that is. It's not even vibrating one bit. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. That was a lot of work, but that's all done, and we will see you in the next video. Take care.